Things between Claressa Shields and Remy Ma suddenly erupted in a way no one saw coming. What began as a casual, almost throwaway comment about Papoose quickly spiraled into something far more intense. At first, it seemed like the kind of light remark that might pass unnoticed in the fast-moving world of social media. But instead of fading away, it ignited a chain reaction that would soon pull everyone into a storm of tension, emotion, and confrontation. Voices were raised. Lines were drawn. Insults began to fly. What had started as a harmless exchange transformed into a full-blown feud that sent shockwaves through their circle. The shift was sudden, but the energy behind it suggested that deeper issues had been simmering beneath the surface for quite some time. Now those hidden tensions were impossible to ignore. The atmosphere quickly became charged. It wasn't just awkward, it was heavy. The kind of tension that lingers in the air and makes every interaction feel loaded with meaning. Relationships were being tested, alliances questioned, and long-held assumptions were beginning to crack. People who once moved comfortably within the same circles suddenly found themselves choosing their words carefully, aware that even the smallest misstep could escalate the situation further. Claressa's response was anything but impulsive. This wasn't a quick reaction driven by emotion. It was deliberate, sharp, and calculated. Every word seemed carefully chosen, crafted not just to respond, but to make a statement. Her tone carried the weight of someone who had been holding back for a long time, someone who had finally decided it was time to speak with clarity and force. What started online quickly gained momentum. Posts and captions began appearing, filled with sarcasm, subtle digs, and unmistakable shade. None of it was overly direct, yet none of it was vague either. It was the kind of messaging that leaves little doubt about its target, while still maintaining a layer of deniability. For observers, it was both fascinating and tense to watch unfold. By the time Remy Ma attempted to respond, the narrative had already begun to take shape. Claressa's voice had set the tone, and the reaction had already created a ripple effect that extended far beyond a simple back and forth. What might have been a brief disagreement had now become a growing spectacle. Behind the scenes, whispers started circulating. Mutual friends and acquaintances began discussing the situation quietly, trying to piece together what had really happened. Even casual gatherings became uncomfortable. Side glances, subtle comments, and unspoken tensions replaced the ease that once defined those spaces. Every interaction felt like it carried an undercurrent of meaning. Social media only intensified the situation. Every like, every comment, every emoji was analyzed as if it were part of a larger strategy. People weren't just watching, they were interpreting, speculating, and choosing sides. The digital space had become a battlefield of perception, where even silence could be seen as a statement. Meanwhile, Papoose found himself in an increasingly difficult position. Caught between two strong personalities, he attempted to remain neutral. But neutrality proved almost impossible in a situation that demanded acknowledgement. He reportedly reached out privately, seeking clarity and hoping to de-escalate the tension. However, by that point, the conflict had already taken on a life of its own. As the feud grew, it began pulling in others. Friends, collaborators, and insiders found themselves drawn into the drama, whether they wanted to be or not. Each new interaction carried the potential to spark another escalation. It became clear that this was no ordinary disagreement. It was something bigger, something deeper. Claressa's strategy became even more evident as time went on. She doubled down on her messaging, layering her posts with pointed remarks that made it clear she wasn't acting impulsively. There was a plan behind her actions, a direction she intended to follow. Her words seemed designed to provoke, to push boundaries, and to force a response. As the day progressed, the intensity only grew. What had begun online spilled into private conversations, late-night phone calls, and endless speculation. Attempts at mediation were made, but they struggled to gain traction. Claressa made it clear that this wasn't just about a comment. It was about respect, boundaries, and accountability. The feud quickly expanded beyond the two of them. People within their shared circle were forced to take sides, some quietly. Supported Claressa, aligning themselves with her stance. Others stood with Remy Ma, believing her perspective deserved understanding. A few tried to remain neutral, but even that became increasingly difficult as tensions escalated. The emotional weight of the situation became almost tangible. It felt as though one wrong move could trigger another wave of drama. Conversations became cautious. Actions became calculated. Trust, once taken for granted, now felt fragile. At one point, Claressa's team reportedly reached out to industry insiders, hinting at past interactions that painted Remy Ma in a negative light. These subtle moves added another layer to the conflict, shifting it from a personal disagreement into something that could affect reputations on a larger scale. Every post, every story, every comment was dissected. The drama was no longer contained. Within their immediate circle, it had begun to spread. Observers from outside their world were now watching closely, analyzing every development. By nightfall, it was clear that this was only the beginning. The energy surrounding the feud was electric, unpredictable, and far from resolved. What had started as a simple comment had evolved into a high-stakes clash involving strategy, pride, and public perception. Rumors began to swirl. People speculated about possible confrontations, both online and in person. The uncertainty added to the tension, creating an atmosphere that felt unstable and charged. Everyone involved understood that this was no longer a small issue. It had become something much bigger. Insiders described the situation as watching a storm build in real time. Each development brought new twists, often arriving when no one expected them. The unpredictability kept everyone on edge. At one point, Remy Ma reportedly attempted to calm the situation. She sent a private message, expressing that no harm had been intended and suggesting that it would be best to let things go before they escalated further. It was a moment that could have shifted the direction of the conflict. However, Claressa's response was firm. She made it clear that the issue wasn't about intent, it was about respect and boundaries. Her reply carried a sense of authority, reinforcing the idea that she would not back down easily. From there, the tension reached an even higher level. Claressa allegedly orchestrated a series of subtle public posts that hinted at deeper issues behind the scenes. These messages revealed just enough to spark curiosity and concern without fully exposing everything. It was a calculated move that kept the pressure on. Friends and collaborators were caught off guard. They struggled to determine what was true and what might have been exaggerated. The uncertainty only added to the drama, making it harder for anyone to fully understand the situation. Papoose reportedly attempted to intervene again, hoping to mediate and bring some resolution. But his efforts had limited impact. The conflict had grown too complex, too emotionally charged to be easily resolved. Conversations became increasingly heated. Claressa continued to emphasize accountability, while Remy Ma worked to maintain composure, under mounting pressure. The clash was no longer about a single moment. It had evolved into a broader struggle involving pride, identity, and public image. As the evening progressed, the effects of the feud spread even further. Long-standing relationships began to feel strained. Social dynamics that had once been stable now seemed uncertain. The ripple effects were impossible to ignore. Claressa's approach was described as strategic, deliberate, and fearless. She maintained control of her narrative, ensuring that her voice remained dominant in the conversation. Remy Ma, on the other hand, appeared to be reassessing her approach, carefully considering her next move. Speculation continued to grow. Would the situation escalate further? Would there be a face-to-face confrontation? Or would the conflict remain within the digital space? No one had clear answers, but everyone was watching closely. By this point, it was undeniable that this was far more than ordinary social media drama. It had become a statement, a powerful display of boundaries, identity, and control. The stakes had grown beyond the personal, extending into professional reputations and long-term relationships. Every move carried weight. Every post added another layer. The situation had transformed into a complex game of strategy, where timing, tone, and perception all played critical roles.